Hello and welcome to Unit Three's module product. I chose the book Frankenstein and it's by Mary Shelley. So this is the prompt I picked. It says, in some works of literature, childhood and adolescence are portrayed as times graced by innocence and sense of wonder. In other works, they are depicted as times of tribulation and terror. Focusing on a single novel or play, explain how its representation of childhood or adolescence shapes the meaning of the work as a whole. So my thesis is it's kind of short here, but I'll explain more. When Frankenstein created the monster, and during the monster's early adolescence period, it experiences a time of terror, and this results in it becoming the devil and becomes the doom of Frankenstein's life. So what I'm saying is, so Frankenstein creates the monster by by joining parts from like a graveyard, and when the monster runs away and like does all that thing, and then when the monster isn't explaining to Frankenstein like what's happening, like he says, right, the monster, he doesn't know how to feel anything. He doesn't feel anything. He can't talk, he can't do anything. He just looks like this ugly, like huge, like monster basically, right? And so he's telling Frankenstein like his adolescence period is like the time after he was created and like ran away and all, like because that's what I'm saying, adolescence, because he was like born slash made, and so that was his like young times. And that's what adolescence means. And so because the monster didn't know how to do anything, and um it learned like language from spying on like a family and like learning from them. And so he soaked in all the family's like bad stuff and good stuff, and that family had went through a lot, so he absorbed a lot of bad stuff. And one big and like he like set their house on fire and just like became like kind of like evil and mad at them. And you read Paradise Lost, which is which has a lot of like satanical and like biblical concepts which can corrupt somebody. So that happened too. And also what do you call it? Like it's also because how he looked. He was like perceived bad because when he went to when he went to that village, everybody looked at him and he was like, "Oh my God, he's so ugly," and just kind of like kicked him out and were like really really mean to him. And also when he saved that person from drowning in the river, the man shot him because he thought the monster was doing something else. So his adolescence period was like full of terror, and so that is like part of the reason why he became a monster. And it's also because he was like made, and maybe he wasn't like he wasn't human, right? So he doesn't have those like emotions and all. So that's what it is. And so the quotes. So the first quote is, "One man's life or death were but a small price to pay for the acquirement of the knowledge which I sought for the dominion I should acquire, transmit over the elemental foes of our race." So this is Frankenstein telling his like oh no, sorry, this is like a so like this quote basically shows that like the monster was like kept in such a hostile environment. So this is the family that the monster spied on, and this is the brother telling the sister what's happening, right? And so just imagine like the brother doesn't care about anything, doesn't care about death or anything like that, and Frankenstein is absorbing this information, so he's obviously going through a lot. Um, yeah. So the second quote is, "The innocent and helpless creature bestowed on them by heaven, whom to bring up to good and whose future lot it was in their hands to direct to happiness or misery according as they fulfill their duties towards me." So this is Victor Frankenstein talking, and he's talking about Victor Frankenstein talking about his childhood and like how parents play a big role in how a kid is shaped. And so Victor Frankenstein didn't have the best of childhoods. Like by he might have went through something. And when he made Frankenstein, you can tell that he was like a little kind of faulty in it, faulty in making him, or like he made him, and so he didn't really give him that the love a father or a mother would. So that's why the monster just kind of became like it was like tormented and became like kind of bad. That's what I mean. And so this is a long quote. You can kind of read it if you want to. I don't want to read this out loud. And so this is Waldman that says that scientists have like normal goals compared to like the ancient ones, but Victor, this is like new because like Victor always wanted to like unlock the unknown, and he was ready to like push past barriers. And this shows that like if the creator, like the quote unquote god of the monster, is acts like this, how would the monster be? Right? If your mother gives you bad characteristics, then you would obviously be a bad person. If your father like instills bad qualities in you, you would be bad. So that's what this quote is trying to say is like if the creator doesn't treat you well and doesn't give you good characteristics, then you will inherently be bad. So and this is what it's trying to say. Um, okay, all right. So the next quote, again you can read it. Um, and so this is the monster saying, talking like I was dependent on none and related to none. The path of my departure was free, and there was none to limit my annihilation. So the monster is like thinking like he's just self doubting himself, like what am I? Who am I? And you can see he's scared, and you can see he's like he has like that unknown factor of like thing in him, like he doesn't know what's going on or like what he's meant to do because he was created and like wasn't born or anything. And so that just shows like him experiencing all those early terrors just completely ruined his life, and like his life was always going to end bad because you can't like make an undead person, right? And like have not have repercussions. So this quote is saying like because he started off bad, he ended up bad, and like this is how it messed up his life. And not just this, it could be like a kid. If a kid faces trauma in his life, he could in his later years like PTSD, develop PTSD, right? And like if the kid is in a car accident when he's small, he could have PTSD of going in cars again. Like he has that terror factor in his head. So this is um this is this is the next quote. Cursed creator, why do I live? Whatever. Um and so this is a Malthusian kind of thing where he says people overpopulation was gonna like destroy like the planet, and like this is like it's like the monster saying like why do I live? Like, why am I supposed to live? And like, you can like see, like, you can just see the sense of terror and like fear in his eyes, and like, oh my God, like, what am I doing? What is going on? What am I here for? All that things, and you can see if like you can compare him to a child, like if a child gets scared without his parents or something like that, like it just kind of a really uncertain feeling. And so the outcast is so there's definitely two outcasts, right? There's Frankenstein's the outcast and like the monster, right? So Frankenstein obviously has that thing of like unlocking the unknown, which not many people do, right? He always wants to push the unknown and be like try to get more information and without having morals. And this leads him to like losing his family and like his loved ones, his wife, and just basically his own life. And the other um outcast is the monster, who's obviously one of one, and he's like the most unique person he's made, and he just like he's a little different, right? Because he's made and he doesn't know how to do anything, and he looks ugly, and society doesn't accept him, and he just has to like keep running away. Like, even when he tries to do good, like he saves the woman from drowning, he gets shot. So he is truly an outcast also. And so that's the end of the module project, and that's just basically what it is, right? Frankenstein created this monster without any remorse, without any feeling. He had like the monster had like a really bad like adolescence period, or like I don't want to say a childhood period because the monster wasn't like 0 years old or wasn't like young, and so like an adolescence period, a learning period, a really bad learning period, which resulted in him like just being completely tormented and like completely awful, and that's why. And which also resulted in him being an outcast and Frankenstein being an outcast and Frankenstein losing everything and just like Like it just shows like ignorance sometimes is bliss, and you shouldn't push the envelope. And just these are my sources.